Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, that's the title of the topic. The leaky gut, a hidden truth could lie behind. It might be a small enteropathy rather than it's a true gluten-induced intestinal dehiscence. The leaky gut, a subject of great challenge, extensive scientific research with inadequate promises. Efforts are going here very near, and they're far around, while some are approaching very close, but without truly clear evidences. The most important among them is the relation to the microbiomes, suggesting links between autoimmunity, Alzheimer, autism, and even colorectal cancer with microbiota is very intelligent, as all of them could be the result of the same etiology, which is dysbiosis. A hidden truth could exist since long history, around 170 years before. In 1853, ammonia was detected in gastric lumen. In 1930s, ammonia detected in the stomach was due to activity of a urease enzyme. In 1960s, urease activity is a property of a bacterium, not the stomach wall. Early in 1980s, it was confirmed ammonia in the stomach is not toxic but beneficial. Please follow. I will proceed fast as all is just logic. Getting close to the truth, then sudden deviation from the truth. In 1985, a claim, a bacterium was discovered in the stomach, discovered or rediscovered, and was accused. It should be the reason of gastric ulcer and gastric cancer. That falsely looked logic. In 1986, the triple antibiotic violence started towards it, with flare-up of disease spread all over the world. Helicobacter pylori, the commonest cause of fire inside the stomach. Guilty, not guilty, or innocent. H. pylori was rediscovered nearly before 3 decades. The aggression against H. pylori by antibiotics has been over the past 3 decades. Flare-up of medical dilemmas related to H. pylori has been during the last 3 decades. The leaky gut syndrome could be among these diseases. Any study which does not correlate between these findings of the last 3 decades is definitely not employing a sound clinical sense. The world misconception and misbehavior towards Helicobacter pylori could have been leading to major spread of illness. Misconceptions such as whether H. pylori is biologic or pathologic, protective or destructive, defensive or offensive, useful or harmful. H. pylori, is it infection or infestation? Is it infestation or existence? H. pylori existence, is it accidental, incidental or universal? H. pylori existence, is it natural existence or abnormal existence? H. pylori eradication, is it necessary and possible or unnecessary because impossible? H. pylori is eradicated or forced to migrate. The resistant H. pylori strains, are they resistant because drastic or immigrant, therefore resistant? Are they really aggressive or just panic? H. pylori, is it guilty, not guilty, or innocent? H. pylori colonized the stomach since an immemorial time, as if both the stomach and H. pylori used to live together in peace, harmless to each other. Recurrence of H. pylori in the stomach is unavoidable. H. pylori has got huge defense talents for survival inside the hellfire of gastric acidity. Aren't these true, frank criteria of a natural bacterium? H. pylori is a natural bacterium as proved by existence since an immemorial time, huge natural defense talents, recurrence is unavoidable. H. pylori is not pathologic by its own. It has been forced to its pathologic sequels due to misbehavior in food habits and antibiotic abuse, as proved by majorly harmless long history inside the stomach. Existence of H. pylori is measured while gastric complications before antibiotics were minor. Eradication therapies are not effective as proved by the common recurrence, emergence of resistant strains, flare-up of a lot of medical challenges. H. pylori is not eradicated but forced to migrate as proved by unusual existence in many sites, unusual symptoms and sequels caused by this unusual existence. No medical force could overcome a natural bacterium entitled for a natural function, except forcing it to migrate from natural shelter of a natural function. And here starts dilemmas and complications. Nobody knows, nobody can tell how it's grave to force a natural bacterium to migrate from its natural habitat, how it's grave to sacrifice a natural function of a natural bacterium, how it's grave to force a natural bacterium to do the good proper function at the improper place. The complications related to H. pylori before being attacked by antibiotics were limited to the stomach and in minor incidents. The complications of H. pylori after the antibiotic attack flared up and exceeded the limits of the stomach. If H. pylori have a function, it should be natural. If H. pylori is natural, it should have a function. Does H. pylori have a real biological function? Yes, it does have at least 9 known functions. The natural physiologic behavior of H. pylori. It resides under gastric mucus, just juxtamucosal, not embedded within mucosal folds, with ammonia at its immediate vicinity. Ammonia liberates nitric oxide from microcapillaries via a shear stress effect. Nitric oxide is responsible for mucus formation and control of mucus thickness. Accordingly, H. pylori is the reason behind the thick alkaline gastric mucus layer, which is the main shield of gastric wall from its acid. Juxtamucosal ammonia of H. pylori under the mucus protects the gastric wall from its acid if it goes in excess and penetrates the mucus shield. Then, what is the nutrition of this bacterium and when it eats? It eats organic urea to produce ammonia for its protection and pyruvate to gain energy from remnants of food in gastric lumen after travel of the meal and drop of the acid to low level. Protected by a sheath of ammonia and returned to shelter in a blink, leaving behind in gastric lumen traces of ammonia that excites the gastric acid back to buffer it. H. pylori in this way protects the gut and human body from absence of the acid during absence of food. The gastric acid is the main defense against millions of bacteria invading the gut with food and drinks. The biological competition. This biological competition between ammonia of H. pylori and the gastric acid is continuous round the clock, day and night, leaving all the time traces of ammonia inside gastric lumen that could constitute physiological intelligence toward the whole body. It's clear then, H. pylori protects the gastric wall from its acid if it goes in excess and protects the gut and the human body from absence of the acid during absence of food. Scientific reports indicate flaring incidence of carcinoma of the cardia of the stomach due to bacterial flare-up at the fundus because of absence of the acid after H. pylori eradication. Residual ammonia in gastric lumen maintains the integrity of gastroesophageal sphincter, as ammonia is a smooth muscle tonic, preventing acid reflux. Scientific reports confirm increasing incidence of acid reflux disease after eradication of H. pylori for treatment of gastric and duodenal ulcers. Residual ammonia in gastric lumen could creep or trickle towards the small intestine with food or gut motility, leading to endothelial-derived nitric oxide liberation via a shear stress effect, helping in turn small intestinal digestion, absorption, and motility. Hence, H. pylori protects the gastric wall from its acid if it goes in excess, protects the gut and the body from absence of the acid during absence of food, protects against acid reflux, supports small intestinal digestion, absorption, and motility. These wonderful benefits in only very close area of the gut. Then what about other biological benefits of H. pylori and the physiological intelligence of juxtamucosal ammonia of H. pylori towards the rest of the body, such as the integral colonic function, the sexual desire and function, the brain, and the serum ammonia level for all organs of the body? Nitric oxide is a cure and poison at the same time. That is, in normal levels, it is healthy, while in overdoses, it is toxic. Therefore, ammonia, the producer of nitric oxide, should be also a cure and a poison at the meantime. In residual amount, it is beneficial, and in excess profuse amount is toxic. If H. pylori comes to occupy mucosa of the small intestine for nutrition, as being forced to migrate, it would produce ammonia in profuse toxic amounts as being unbuffered by any acidity, leading to indigestion, malabsorption, and intestinal delay, with excess fermentation, putrefaction, and production of toxins. Absorption of these toxins could be responsible for the adverse symptoms encountered in the so-called leaky gut disease. Thus, it might be just small intestinal enteropathy due to a direct toxic effect of ammonia rather than its gluten-induced intestinal dehiscence. The assumption that the migrating H. pylori strains could come to occupy mucosa of small intestine simply for nutrition seems logic, as the symptoms have been modified with decreased frequency of attacks in 9 patients known with gluten allergy, simply upon intake of chicken pea flour bechamel or puree as a main or side dish during or between attacks. Chicken pea flour is non-fluid absorbent, turning the liquid indigested intestinal contents into semi-formed, less fermentable, better moving in the gut. Similar good results were also obtained upon employing the dried dates powder as an alternative sweetener, as the dried dates fibers are also fluid absorbent, bulk formative, helping to promote the gut transit rate, thus reducing the time available for fermentation of undigested food and the production of toxins. Significantly, around 90% of newly discovered cases of gluten allergy during latest 3 decades could have been just a potential, not true, being related to an abnormal behavior of migrating H. pylori strains. So the matter could be mostly small intestinal enteropathy rather than its gluten-induced intestinal dehiscence. Could a big compromise be as simple as such? Could the challenge of the leaky gut syndrome be just a potential enteropathy rather than a true gut barrier damage? Could the matter be just non-intentional misbehavior of a natural bacterium due to the antibiotic violence towards it? And would correction of the antibiotic use alleviate the problem? It would be great to have chance and time to discuss the non-intentional pathologic attitude and sequels of H. pylori due to misbehavior in food habits and antibiotic aggression, and the related so many diseases spread and control of this disease spread. But dommage, no time. Conclusion. A hidden truth could just exist behind the leaky gut disease. It might be mostly a small intestinal enteropathy rather than it's a gluten-induced intestinal dehiscence. Employ natural measures to eradicate the abnormal behavior existence H. pylori strains, control environmental chemicals and antibiotic abuse. And thank you very much.